what are we doing?
We're gonna get that Gino Carbonara.
Fucking hate him.
Fuck him up! Quick, go. Where's the car?
It was here.
Where did you leave your fucking car?
It was right here. Never mind.
What are we gonna do now?
Never mind. There's one over there.
Let's get it! Where's she going?
She's calling the police. It's only an inflatable gun. Hi guys, welcome to another review from Overbite Gaming. I am the Majestic Snare.
And I'm the Lunatic Lee. I picked myself a name.
It'll do. So Lee, what are we reviewing today if no one can work out by the video titles and skit so far?
Well, today, good Snare, we're reviewing Mafia 3, developed by 2K Games and published by them as well, and also someone called
Hangar 13.
There we go, and Mass Media Games as well. There's a lot of companies involved in this game.
Are you going to talk like that the entire way through?
No.
Good. But yeah, Hangar 13, 2K, Mass Media Games. A lot of people involved, but that's the general way things are these days.
Yes.
But Mafia 3 is obviously the third title in the series. I haven't played any previous Mafia games.
Yes, you have.
Look, not spent time with. We did one Let's Play.
We did a Let's Play where you played it. I am right.
Okay, technically I've played it, but I haven't invested a lot of time and gone through and invested in the story. But in terms of the actual full-on game, this is the first time I've spent a lot of time with it. And we've obviously spent about 20, 30 hours each.
17, 20 here.
Yeah, so I've completed the game, you haven't.
Nope.
But we've obviously got a decent idea of where we are and what's in the game. And we're going to tell you what we think about it. Isn't that right? That's what we're here for, right? So guys, Mafia 3 sets you on a course, story-wise, of you come back from now, I think.
Come back from now. What?
From Nam.
Oh, Nam. I thought you said from now.
Well, technically you're going back from now, but you come back from Nam.
Nam.
And you basically go through some tragedy. You kind of lose your friends and technically family. And you go on a bit of a revenge mission to get the guy that did you.
Them. Did them.
Well, he did you as well.
Sort of. Part did all this.
You get shot in the head, and it's awesome. It really is.
Yeah, he looks like Davy Crockett.
He's got like a massive scar on the back of his head like that. And that's one thing I wanted to mention straight away, like the textures of the skin on these characters. It's really, really good. Like pitted, stubble, complexion, a bit translucent-y, skinny look. It's good. Didn't you recognise it?
No.
But they've actually got tongue movement in the characters as well, which you don't see very often.
I do like a bit of tongue.
Oh, why did I have to bring that up? But the game itself, it's one of your classic open world, drivey, shooty, cover, stealthy games. I mean, that is a genre.
One of them.
But you're thinking GTA, a bit Saints Row-y.
Well, Saints Row doesn't really do stealth, but
but it's that third-person type of action game, and it's all based around revenge and I was about to say building up an empire, but sadly that doesn't happen in this game, does it? You build up an empire, but it's not an empire.
Well, then the fact there's no emperor, no.
But the game involves you trying to get to a big crime boss and do him in. Fuck him up!
Yeah, I mean, it's very much a trope nowadays, like Assassin's Creed games, stuff like that, of like taking over parts of your region, basically, and sort of earning rewards for doing those. And this is another example of it's done not well, I found.
I think maybe that's a bit harsh. I don't think it's the not well part. It's the fact that it's the same. This game is a long grind of the same thing. Normally when people do that, it's a bit hyperbole. It's not. It's just the fact that you're doing the same thing. I think it works out 18 times. And it's repetitive and grindy. Although you do feel like you're getting something from it. You do get sort of perks and able to upgrade your character. with perks and buffs from other crime bosses you meet during the game. It's the same mission, effectively.
Yeah, I found the gameplay to be fun. Don't have a problem with the gameplay per se, but it was just doing the same thing over and over again. I found it really hard to go back and capture footage or even just to continue playing it. Because I knew exactly what I'd be doing, which was the same thing I've already done. And there's only so far a decent combat system can carry my interest.
I think what's very clear in this game is that they've got a lot of attention to detail and put a lot of care and effort into a lot of parts of the game, but not the whole thing. There's elements that you're like, oh, it's not really how I would have done it, or not really how I'd like to have played it, but you can see that attention's gone there. So, for example, the little things that you spot when you're playing it for hours, the weather conditions actually kind of matter. So if you're driving around and it's sunshine, it's nice and sunny. But if it's raining, you get to see the rain, you get to see the difference in the terrain. And if it's stopped raining, you get to see puddles as if it has just stopped raining. Elements like that just make me feel like they've taken time to craft a world for you, rather than just go, here's a playground, just make it up as you go along.
Yeah, it's in recent times we've seen people do the open world games in different ways. I mean, certainly this particular one is focused definitely on combat, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, you're always
That's all you're doing.
Yeah, you're always comparing it to GTA because that is the current sort of top level open world game we have, in which they've managed to polish pretty much everything. Now, I would say the combat in Mafia 3 is better than that of GTA 5, but I think everything else pales in comparison. It's kind of like having a wonderful truffle and then making it into a flavour of Angel Delight.
That's a good analogy. That's very good. I'm proud of you.
I was thinking about that while you were going on just then.
Oh, well done. But I actually feel like there's enough in the game that makes me want to continue playing it, because I'm that kind of person that likes the Assassin's Creed.
Obsessiveness.
Yeah, the grindiness. But I only do a grind when I get a payoff for it. So in this game, you are on your journey, without ruining the story for you. You meet 3 other crime bosses, and then you do missions for them to get them on board. And you basically get this little cartel going to build up your resources to give you the chance to go and get the big bad guy. So these crime bosses will help you secure rackets in a particular region. So each region has 2 kind of main missions. You go in there, you do the surrounding missions, you do the main mission, then you give that racket to one of these crime bosses, which will then give earnings for that crime boss, which then gives you perks such as being able to call in a hit squad, have extra health, silence police calls and stuff like that. So that's it's worth doing, and it's a grind you do to get something rather than a Destiny grind back in the old days. I don't know how it is these days. I haven't played it for about a year. But if you have a grind where you just like arbitrarily get something and it's not always worth having, with this you can see what you're going to go for and you can see what you can get. So I think the grind it's not terrible, but it's a bit lackluster, and it would have been nice to have a bit of a change, because it is the same mission. Go somewhere, kill some people, go somewhere, kill some people, go into a big mission, which you've already been to that location once before probably, kill people, and then get to a boss of that racket and then kill that. And it's just the same thing 18 times it works out.
Yeah, certainly in Mafia 2, for instance, it had a more epic feel to it, because this feels like it's happened over like maybe 6 months or possibly less. Whereas Mafia 2, you had the initial part of the game where you're stacking boxes down the dock before you say, fuck it, I'm going to be a Mafia guy. And you get put in prison, 10 years elapses, and you come out of prison, the surroundings have changed, the fashions have changed, the cars have changed, and then you're selling cigarettes out of the back of a car and building yourself back up again. In this, it's just more like Hulk smash now.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it briefly earlier, and I think the difference between... Because I've not played a lot of Mafia 2, just to get that right for you this time. But the difference between the Mafia games of old and this Mafia is the difference between Godfather being a long, epic thing and like Die Hard or Falling Down. It's like a revenge flick for 90 minutes. That's the way it kind of feels, because it's a bit one-dimensional, isn't it? You are just a killing machine.
I mean, in the previous ones, you could go out and get yourself a nice suit. You could have it with a trench, without a trench, with a hat, without a hat, without a suit jacket, anything like that. And he's got his Nam jacket.
I mean, there's no friends
No.
or love interest. There's no extra character building in this apart from you are Clay and you are gonna go and kill someone.
Yeah, in the previous games, the secondary characters were very, very important.
A lot more family in there as well.
Yeah, you had family, you had friends, you had dreams that you actually achieved, and it was a story. You felt like it was a real person. Clay feels more like an action hero cartoon.
Yeah, I mean he is a good action hero. I mean he's practically invincible.
He's Mr. Knifey Man.
Yeah, he is Mr. Nami. Now it brings us on to stealth. I mean one of the things about stealth, this game is very easy. Stealth is satisfying. I mean the actual hand-to-hand stuff, as you're saying, combat is better than GTA.
Yes.
The hand stuff. I mean, you can walk down the street and punch a pedestrian, and the sound it makes is so satisfying. But do it too much, and you will pay for it.
By paying for it, he means you'll be shot a lot.
So, stealth. When you get a chance to do stealth, it's good. You can hide behind the cover, whistle someone over, stab them, and then do rinse and repeat. Which is the kind of also the bad part.
Yeah, it is extremely easy. I mean, I can do it, and I am horrible at stealth games, and I have no problem taking down an entire building full of people with my knifey.
But I didn't mind spending the extra time doing the stealth. That's the nice thing. Like you could, in some games like, what am I thinking of? Some games where you actually have to do stealth to do the mission, a bit like, oh god, it's
Shadow of Mordor.
Little bit. That was an insta-fail stealth mission.
Yes.
Though. I'm thinking more of like a bit of Deus Ex in there, perhaps, where you scope out what your surrounding environment is and go and do it, but choose your route in. There does seem to be different ways into certain places, and there's different ways of doing it. You can run and gun, or you can do it by stealth. It's up to you. But the problem is that some of the stealth doesn't feel that real when you whistle to someone for the first interaction in that area, and they speak a line like they are already aware of you and they're searching for you. It just kind of pulls you out a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it because the stealth is so OP. You hardly ever use a gun. I mean, you can like send a burst of Tommy gun fire into someone's chest and it'll stagger him, whereas you run up to him and knife the fuck out of him and he's dead immediately. It's just, it makes the guns, the only time you break into them is like if you fuck up the stealth, and the stealth's quite easy, so you'll find yourself not fucking it up very often.
Yeah, it does. It's kind of a strange system. But if you're talking overpowered, let's get on to the big overpowered part of this. The fucking police. You can do the smallest misdemeanor, and you'll be descended upon by the entire department. And I mean, if you're being chased by police cars, and your car has been injured, tyre blown out, a bit rackety, reduce your top speed, that kind of thing, or handling, you are fucked. There is no way out for you. There's no way out.
Yeah, you can't just stand your ground either because they just keep coming.
Yeah, it's like they're literally cloning police officers in the 60s.
Impressive.
With, very minimal resources, but they keep chucking them at you.
Makes you think we should have probably won them, or they should have won them. I forget who I am.
They should have just sent the police over. Yeah. They would have wiped them clean. One person, I could
just see a Huey come down in like a clown car, like 400 police officers come in.
They are so overpowered. It's so irritating. I mean, in GTA there was a way you could knock out the first few cars, grab another car and drive away, but whether it was intentional or not, the physics of the actual cars in Mafia 3, they take about 10 minutes to get going when you actually set up your foot down. It just sort of wheels around, and I think you can change the mode of driving to simulation, but I don't actually know what that does because it didn't seem any different.
I assume it would make it harder.
Yeah, I don't want it harder. It's harder really. But the police are way overpowered, so that's all we're going to say about that.
Yeah.
You'll have fun until you meet the police.
Yes.
Yeah, but the other mechanic you do have in the game quite a lot is the way that you actually get the police on your back. So if you do any criminal activity, you will have a witness to the crime, and they'll run off and either phone the police or go and speak to a policeman, and then they'll be searching for you in an area. If you're in a poorer area, they'll take longer to react, than if you're in a nice whitey area. And it's just generally the way you go. If you can get out of dodge as quickly as possible, you'll be all right.
Yeah, I think that leads into a point we actually didn't discuss and probably should have, is the issue of race in the game.
They do give you a disclaimer.
They do. It's right at the start. It says it, and I think the disclaimer is fine, and I think it is a fair representation.
I think it's important to have it in the game because
to ignore it would be racist in and of itself.
it would be.
Yeah.
It would be whitewashing, wouldn't it? It would be taking out, making white people not be as bad as they actually were. And the attitudes of most people down there using N words, M words, C words, lots of different
words.
Yeah, lots of different slurs, racial slurs. But to be honest, I think it would feel artificial if you didn't have them in there. It's a nice way to bring the realism to it, and it's trying to put you into the era. So you got the language and the bad words. You got the language there. You got the music, which is awesome.
Yes, some of the licensed stuff on there is really good.
It's really good. Which also reacts to when you drive into tunnels. So the radio that you've got, because you're not playing it off a cassette deck or a CD player. You're in the 60s. Yeah, you are driving through a tunnel. The radio goes. You can kind of hear it a bit weird. When you come out, it's normal. Nice touch, Hangar 13. Nice touch.
Or possibly 2K Check.
Yeah,
depending which one.
Or Mass Media Games. Whoever did that
bit.
Yeah, it's good. The whole feeling of the age is there. The environments you're driving around in, you're walking around in, I think has been done really well. I mean, tarmac on the road has got patches and it doesn't seem to repeat very often. It looks like it's been designed from the ground up, and it's a living, breathing neighbourhood when you're driving through it.
Yeah,
it's not like you had in Watch Dogs or some of the earlier games on some consoles like Prototype and stuff like that, where it was an empty grey nonsense going on.
Well, Prototype wasn't empty; it was just full of the same people over and over.
Yeah, but the buildings were all grey. There wasn't much in the actual environment. But in Mafia 3, they've actually taken time and put a lot in there.
Yeah, it's very detailed, and Playboys are back.
Yes, there are boobies in this game.
Yeah, before in Mafia 2 you got Playboys as well. It was just a centerfolds per issue, but now you have actual articles so you can lie to your mum. Yes!
Well done, that's a reason for buying a game. It's probably age restricted anyway. It must be an 18. I haven't looked at the ratings.
But it's only boobs, you can buy the Sun.
Yeah, but some of our viewers are in the States that don't have the Sun.
What do they have in the States?
Lucky you.
The Moon, I don't know.
But yeah, you do have Playboy magazines to collect, and you will find yourself deviating from missions just to find the boobs.
Yes. Yeah, boobs.
Okay, calm down now. Calm down. But there are other collections you can do for Hot Rod magazine, for Repent, the Jesus mag,
records,
and Vargas posters, so sort of hand-drawn boobies.
Yeah, they're sort of Boris Vallejo style boobies.
There's lots of boobs in the game.
But none of which Clay gets his hands on.
Yeah, none. I think there's one character you meet you think this could be an interest for Clay.
Lesbian.
Yeah, so there's no go there. So there's lots of stuff in the game that does drag you in, make you give a shit about the characters, and the voice acting is really good.
Yes, the voice acting is. I think Donovan probably.
Yeah, Donovan is a CIA agent you meet earlier in the game, and he's kind of a bit of an intel agent, confidant.
Sort of a handler. Sort of thing.
Yeah, kind of thing. But he's with you, he wants to cause some shit.
Yeah, basically uses you like a weapon. Sort of aiming you.
Points, yeah. But he's funny as fuck, and he's a real asset to the game. He just gives you a chance to laugh. He's a bit like Sully in Uncharted. He's a little bit like, who's the guy in Just Cause? There's a guy you meet in Just Cause 2.
He reminds me of the homicide detective in LA Noire a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
One that sort of schmoozes with the stars and stuff.
Yeah, there's lots of those kind of characters, but he's one of them, and he does it a good job. He does a good job, and that relationship is always quite stoic and kind of. They're apart from each other. They're in different worlds, but they just take the piss out of each other, and it works.
Yeah.
So it's one of those games where you can spend time just getting involved in these characters, but it's going to be a revenge type game. You're going to be killing for 80% of it.
Yeah, it's very much Clay's goals are short term, whereas in the previous game your goals were just, I want a nice life, I want money, I want to be important and powerful. So it was very much long term. Where in this, it's like Clay Stabby, bad man, bye.
Yeah, I mean, the ending to the game, without giving too much away, is a little bit lackluster. It's unfortunately a bit of a repeat of the main game, just with a few extra baddies to kill. But the payoff at the end does kind of work for me. It did feel like, okay, there's a nice kind of follow on. You get to make some choices about what you're going to do, and those choices. And I'd actually found myself spending a lot of time wondering which one to do because I'd invested so much time with this character. It was like they're both. You have basically two choices to start with, and you think, well, if I do this one, that's what I would do. But what would Clay do after everything he's gone through? Would he do the other one? And it's very much a
WWCD.
Hmm?
What would Clay do?
What would Clay do? But you do get that kind of thing because you actually have to drive to two different locations depending on which one you're going to do. And if I'd actually drove a third of the way to one and then turned round and went, but no, do I actually want to do that? I was really indecisive. So it does make you feel, you have your own chance to put a stamp on it for the rest of the game, for the ending. I don't think it's going to carry on. I think it's a self-contained game for this character.
Yeah, I think for the character, it's probably the end of his tale. But one of the biggest problems I have is it's a Mafia game, and the Mafia aren't really the central focus of it.
No, it's got Black Flag syndrome from Assassin's Creed. It's the way they stopped being assassins and started being pirates.
Which was good. We liked that.
Yeah, it was okay. It was okay.
But I wish, much like Assassin's Creed Black Flag felt like it was just crying out to have like a spin-off that just went complete pirate.
Yeah,
and then you could have
tried to hook it back to Assassins
instead of like fucking around and saying, oh well, you need to do all the free running and all the crap you don't want to do, rather than shit bits and having like you could have some sort of like actual sword fighty system rather than just reversey system.
Yeah, and I think this is doing the same thing, trying to hook back into Mafia to carry on with the franchise, where it's actually just a different kind of game. They've tried to do a bit more open world, they've tried to do a bit more GTA, and as a whole it hasn't worked, but there's a lot of good parts worthy of checking out. I think.
The previous games were very successful in that you start off as low man on a totem pole and you build your way up through the family, and you see the sort of inter-family politicking and sort of backstabbery, and you get more powerful and you have people under you and stuff like that. So that was really like the hook of the Mafia games for me, is to like that increase in power. But I mean I think Clay, when he popped out of the womb, had a knife between his teeth and was killing the doctor with his own tube thing. I can't remember the name.
Stethoscope.
No, the one that's on Clay.
What, umbilical cord?
There we go. I almost said fallopian tube, but I knew it wasn't that.
He definitely doesn't have a fallopian tube.
He's just ripping it out. He's like, Argh!
He's going to smack him down with ovaries and be done with it.
Bosh!
Yeah, he's definitely a one-dimensional character, but acted very well.
Yeah.
And drawn very well, if you want to call it that.
Well, you did expound at length on how buff he was.
Yes, no, I mean, most of the time he's wearing this big army, like, flak jacket, and he doesn't really look massive. He just looks like a dude in a big coat. But then there's a section later on where you actually have a boxing fight, which is pretty lame, to be fair. It is really lame. But he's basically in, like, shorts, boxing shorts and bare top. And the guy's huge, like, he's as wide as he is tall.
Snare was very impressed.
I was impressed because all the way through the game, people are going, "You're a big fucker," like, and keep on talking, and "You're a big N-word" and stuff. And he's like, he just looks normal. He looks a bit bigger than average, but then he actually takes his coat off, and you're like, "Shit, this man is stacked. He's going to cause some damage." He did.
He caused plenty of damage without even taking his coat off.
He probably caused so much damage, it brings on to the damage of the frame rate discussion as well.
Yes, I mean, when it launched, it was infamously locked at 30 on the PC, which, why would you do that, especially when you patch it like 2 days later to unlock it?
There may be licensing, releasey type reasons, but to be honest, I mean, I know frame rate snobs don't like PC games being 30, but at least they actually fixed it in 2 days, unlike Arkham Knight, which never got really fixed.
Yeah, Arkham Knight still chugs a bit. It's better, so if you want to play it, it's probably the best it's going to be on PC.
Yeah, but they locked it, then they unlocked it very quickly, and they gave you an unlimited version. But the problem is, as soon as I unlocked it and put it to like no limit of frame rate, the jitters, the chugs, the stutters, they were all over the place.
I don't have as much of a problem, but it's not a well-optimized game at all.
No, it does. We was talking about this earlier. There seems to be a lot of brute force going on to try and perform.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to rely on cleverness or elegance within the game itself. It's just like how much RAM you got. Okay, boy, let's go.
It might be the symptom of having a number of different developers involved. We don't know how much the guys did. I mean, most people are referring to Hangar 13, but maybe they did some of it, maybe a third, maybe a half, maybe 70%. We don't know. So there might be a problem with the coding, developers working together across those companies.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad-looking game, but it's not. We're not talking like Witcher 3 levels here by any, or GTA 5, and that runs better than this game. So, yeah, you need a beefy PC if you want to really sort of turn all the options on. I mean, I have to run it with an anti-aliasing off because that just tanks the fuck out of it.
It does tank it, and unfortunately, that's the kind of thing you have to deal with. You're playing a grindy game, so you'll be playing it for long periods and a long time, and you want it to look nice, you want it to play nice, and you can't play a game that's running at 10 frames per second. It never really got that bad for me, but it did stutter, and you get that kind of disorientation where you're looking at somewhere completely different. It's annoying. It's annoying is the best way to put it. When they fixed it, they did fix it, but you had to still tweak it to get it just right. So it's slightly annoying.
Yeah.
Slightly annoying. But, I mean, on the whole, it's a game that I would probably recommend.
I would cautiously recommend it. I enjoyed playing it while I played it, but I can't see myself ever playing any more of it.
I do find that later on in the game you get a bit too overpowered, and it becomes a bit too easy. So the one thing I was going to mention is some of the buffs you get. So the main sort of gameplay mechanic of your money is interesting. So you don't really have like a health meter as such.
You have a health meter.
Well, you have a health meter. No, what I'm trying to say is you don't have like some games where you die, you kind of lose a lot of shit, but in this one it just takes your money. So you don't lose like your ability to do something, you just lose half your money. Unless you put it in a safe back at your house.
Well, which is similar to GTA, but GTA would take a fixed amount of money. This takes half your money, whatever you have on you.
Which is slightly annoying. And in the early game, you're having to drive back all the way across town to drop off, to run into this burnt down building and chuck some money in a safe. Later on, you can pick up a buff from one of the crime bosses that you can actually call someone out in a car. I think it's a concierge or something.
Consigliere, perhaps?
That's it. Yeah, that's it. And then they come out, you give them money, they collect all the other money you've earned, and then that goes back in your safe, which is great. So if you're in the middle of the bayou, you can not have to find or run or swim, find a car and get back.
That's also a problem, though, because, I mean, like in the previous game, the consigliere is an important part of the family, where in this, it's just a gameplay mechanic.
Okay, well, I kind of found it very useful.
Well, yeah, it's a useful mechanic, but I'm saying it's a missed opportunity.
And also, when you're ordering weapons, you get a van pull up in the middle of the street. Now, bearing in mind, if you bump a car, the police will be on your back and end you. But it's perfectly fine for a really conspicuous red truck to arrive in the middle of the street, slam its brakes on, and you can just ruffle through the back, picking out AK-47s and fucking RPGs and whatnot.
Yeah, while the traffic piles up behind you, you're like, sorry, mate, I'm just buying a rocket launcher. Be right with you.
So that didn't make much sense, but it's kind of nice that you can call them in anywhere, like as long as there's a road there. If you're in the middle of a firefight, which never really understood that, but you can call them in, they'll arrive, you get your guns, you carry on. You can call in hit squads, you can gain extra health, you can break into cars easier, you can take out police comms. There's lots of other buffs you can do, and I didn't use a lot of them, but they do feel like suddenly you've got all this stuff to be able to do or prevent things happening.
Snare was even able to ally himself with the alligators of the bayou.
Yeah. They're good friends of mine. But the alligators, like swimming about, they will get you. But I have seen someone actually get got good by alligators swimming behind me, but then someone's chasing me through the bayou, and it just nabbed him. I just heard him scream, turn around, and no one was there. So.
Like a horror movie.
So Yeah, so there's lots to sort of play around with in the game, but there's good points and bad points. That's the point of doing a review like this.
Yes, boobs is a good point.
So one of the other things to mention in this game, as you might have noticed from the skit we did earlier, dressed up as normal Mafia people, not as blacked up people, because we thought that'd be a bad taste move.
Now I have nothing to do with that shoe polish.
That incident will go down in infamy. Was the fact that cars generally disappear when you go into some places in the game. This will result in you wandering about thinking, where the fuck is my car that I've just either stolen, bought, or want to keep?
Yeah, it's led to my demise multiple times when I've gone and had to break into another car, been spotted, the police have turned up and shot my ass.
And all they've done is quite often, you can walk into someone, walk straight back out, and it'll be gone. But they've taken the car and they've sort of turned it round and stuck it in a kind of predetermined parking spot, which is fucking annoying.
Yep.
Like, it's the most annoying part, I think, of when you're sort of running and gunning, that you want things to stay where they are, because that's where they were. Simple rule.
That's where you've left it, and you run out and you're like, well, that was the skit, so...
Yeah, but that's the kind of the point. It was the most annoying thing, and cars disappearing, they're not disappearing, they're just being bloody moved, and it's irritating.
Yeah, it's like every building in the city has a valet.
Yeah, a mysterious, like, godly one that just picks up your car and says somewhere else. Boop! Oh, where's my car? It's over there. Oh, fuck it. No.
Or you get one that looks exactly the same but isn't actually your car, and you don't notice that you're breaking into it before you actually break into it. And then everybody's like, broke into that car, and you're like, I thought it was my car, I'm sorry.
Just blame on your glasses, mate. It'll be fun.
Alright.
Just I've got glasses.
I'm four
I didn't
eyes.
know.
These aren't corrective or anything, they're fashionable.
And one other thing I wanted to mention before I forget is the crime bosses. When you clear out an area of the two particular missions, you'll have assigned those to be secured by one of your 3 crime boss friends. And then when you go to a big meet at the end, sort of divvy it out and say who's going to run that particular region. The conversations you have with the crime bosses they feel real, because if you've given somebody the last one, they'll say something like, oh, well, you gave me the last one, so why don't you give me this one as well? And then someone else will be like, you haven't given me anything but 2 times now, what's going on? And it'll feel like it's reacting to your decisions that you've made and reminding you that so-and-so's got some, so-and-so hasn't had some, or so-and-so is in your favour. And you build up, rapport with them. I don't think it actually ends up meaning anything, but the interactions and the reactions are very, very good.
So it's kind of Star Childy then.
Yeah, it's a little bit, but it's a nice touch in the game. They could have just gone, like, with no speech, just sitting there, go, who do you want to give it to, and not actually have a moment.
It's like, assign to this guy, get this buff.
But it's the kind of thing they're probably good at, of giving those interactions and building those characters. Because the voice acting's fucking amazing. Like, compared to most games, it's stellar.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the same voice actor that did Vito in the second game to come back and reprise his character, so excellent, because we like Vito.
And he's one of
him.
your crime bosses, so,
Yeah.
It's a little hang back to the last game.
So, because there's no love interest, so I'm not going to favour it that way. It's all Vito for me.
But unless we go into the absolute minutiae of this game, I think we should just wrap things up and give it a little bit of a rating.
Okie dokie.
So, Lee, what do you think? Out of 10.
Yeah,
What do you think
10.
of this?
I give this 6.5 out of 10.
You're always with the points.
I'm sorry.
I would go a little bit higher, because I think I actually had more fun with this, but maybe that's because I haven't played the previous ones and I'm not comparing it as much. So I'd probably give it a 7.
It's possible. I mean, I wouldn't put it as a 6, but it's not a 7 either for me, so hence the 0.5. I enjoyed my time with it, but I don't think it's held my interest very well. It was a struggle to go back and get footage, which is why we've got little footage.
I enjoyed my time playing the game. I wanted to find out what happened to Clay and his story. I wanted to find out what would happen at the end, and how it would kind of go on. And I wanted to complete the thing and see if there's any extras on the end.
Yeah, I didn't really care about the story, because Clay's like a human killing machine, and he's obviously going to kill the guy that he wants to kill, so there's your story.
But I wanted to know the emotions behind it and the interactions, but there was missing in places. There's a lot of good things in the game. You will get your money's worth if you are that kind of gamer that enjoys a grind for a price. It's worth the money. It's not entirely worth your time unless you are that way inclined. So I think for a mainstream version, I think a lot of people are very middle of the road reviews, sort of 5s and 6s. But for me, I enjoyed my time with it, and I could see the attention to detail and the care they put into a lot of parts of the game. It's just next time, guys, try and give that same attention to everything. And if we have to wait another 6 months, 12 months, so be it. Just make something that people will remember and go down in history, like GTA 5 will, as being the best in its market.
Yeah, I think the main flaws in the game. I mean, I'm a very story-driven gamer, so I prefer a good story over necessarily good mechanics. Obviously, they're a bonus as well. And what this lacked for me was they didn't make use of secondary characters very well. I found certainly not compared to the previous games, and there just wasn't enough variety in the mission types. It was always like go kill a warehouse of guys and blow something up, or steal something, or take their money. It's all that. There was no sort of lower key missions or like burglaries or doing stuff. It was all just kill.
Go somewhere and kill.
Yeah. So I think if they had better, more interesting characters, at least that were actually proactive within the game, and a more varied mission structure, I would probably enjoy this a lot more. But as it didn't, and the main part you enjoy is the combat in the game, but you're doing the same things over and over with the combat. So although you're enjoying playing it, you're also like, I'm just going to do the same thing when I go back and play it again.
It was the same little factor as in Shadow of Mordor as well. If you don't enjoy killing orcs, then you shouldn't play that game.
Yeah.
Because that is all you did. But that was, it had a lot more story behind it as well.
There was a lot more variety to it, the way you could do it as well.
Different missions too. So, yes, that's our review of Mafia 3. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to comment, like and subscribe to the old video. It does help us out a great deal. Become part of the family, One of them.
We want Christmas presents from you there.
Yeah, of course. We want a lot of Christmas
It's
presents.
coming up. Games are expensive.
Indeed.
You know what you've got to do.
But guys, don't forget we do have videos coming out every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. And we'll see you soon.
Take it easy, guys.
See ya. Bye.
That is because he's spending 60% of his life locked in his fucking car shooting the same things over and over.
Okay, that's a good point. We'll come on to this now. So, in this game, we now have access to... I don't know if it was in the last game or not. I didn't play that one, but the risk is much higher as well.
Yeah, it's not just a PvP area either. It's an area that allows PvP, but there are AI enemies in there, and they're all hella tough. It's definitely designed for cooperative play in there.
Yeah, and I'd actually suggest